Hey everybody, as you can see, I'm here with Steve Chandler, and this is for Wonderful Words. And oh my goodness, how many wonderful words have come from this man. 30 books, many of them international bestsellers. And when I saw you, the first time I ever saw you in person was at the Pranskys, and it was like I'd seen Elvis. Literally, I was so it's Steve Chandler. My God, it's Steve Chandler. Because your books have they're like one step ahead of they're like the next thing that I need each time, and I've read them all. Or I'm in the middle of the well-being bucket list at the moment, and I'm just so happy to be here talking with you. So thank you for everything that you've written and everything you've done.
Well, you're welcome. I don't think you qualify for the well-being bucket list because it's for older people.
Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, and like I think it was Ankush said in the review comments, it's for everybody, that book, isn't it?
It could be, yeah. I think it could be.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think maybe like we should be given it age 10. So, well, the words that I've chosen for today have come from right now, um, and I'll read them out. Oh, I love it. But sometimes, and not very often, sometimes we got glimpses of the truth. We'd see someone across a crowded room at the prom and our heart would stop. Our thoughts about ourselves would disappear and it felt like we were in heaven. What was happening? Were we falling in love? Maybe what really stopped at that moment wasn't the heart. What if what stopped was just all those thoughts? All those thoughts that were headed for the future or else going into the past. What if, when the truth, in brackets beauty, is glimpsed, those thoughts fall away, and love is just the beauty arising out of feeling the here and now? Oh, Steve, tell us
Well,
about.
I, um, you know, across a crowded room, that comes from South Pacific, the South Pacific song, somewhere across a crowded room, some enchanted evening. And it also comes from West Side Story. There's a moment, I haven't seen the new one,
Yeah, I saw it
but
recently.
there's a moment in the old one uh, where Tony and Maria see each other at the dance,
Mhm.
and the other dancers become cloudy and slow motion, and you just see those two. And then there's an old song called My Heart Stood Still. I took one look at you, that's all I had to do, and that's when my heart stood still. Now, these references will have no meaning for modern people, but because they're from the olden days. But really, I think we think our heart stands still, but I think the mind stops.
Mhm.
And and then we're truly in the moment. It's really hard to differentiate being truly in the moment, and your books capture it really well, better than mine, which makes always fascinates me that you're reading mine after having read yours. But a lot of people mistake the moment for, oh, I'll just do it now, or I need to be more present. And it's like, I need to discipline the ego to focus on now. But the true eternal now is totally egoless. There's no ego involved. And that's what I was trying to say in that book right now.
So beautifully. And is that what you see love as being? As
Yes.
the absence of.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just the absence, it's funny. It's the absence of desire. it's not the fulfillment of desire, it is the absence. And like, in our culture, love is almost always defined in the songs and the movies and on social media. I have someone breaks up with someone, or someone loses their mate or something, and people say, "Oh, you'll find love again." I know or the Hallmark movies. I know you'll find love again. As if the only source is mythologically created romantic love, partner love, or hormonal love in the teenage years. That's love, and then the rest is just trying to get through life. And I think it's unfortunate that that's where the word has been narrowed down to
Mm.
for everybody.
Yeah. The, one of the things that really strikes me about how you live is how you deeply cherish the people in your life. And, you often talk about Kathy or your grandchildren, your children, and many of your books chart that time with you as bringing them up. And how do you see that relationship between personal love, where you that there are the details of that other that are so special and so unique, with the universal love that we are? How do you see the two fitting together?
Well, they harmonize. They are the same love. We, I think the role I play as a father, as a husband, as a friend to people, a coach to people, socially, there's a faster channel to exchange that love. And allow yourself to be loved and love in return. Now, that can actually, when I'm awake, when I'm not in first mind, that the little that intellectual tool that we've misidentified as who we are, when I'm not there, I can feel love for someone doing the checkout of my groceries, or just anybody, someone, a woman who brings the mail. My heart can open up, and that's available everywhere. But I've been conditioned as much as anyone to see, I'm Tony and I see Maria from across a crowded room, and wow, my life stands still. I don't want to lose that conditioning. I don't want to lose those societal relationships where it's easier to give and receive love. But I also don't want to miss out on the fact that it's everywhere, and I don't really need the one-to-one relationship. I enjoy it, I love it, I'm grateful for it, but it's not. So many of the people I coach, sometimes men and women, they say the only missing thing in my life is I don't have anyone to love. And I said, well, there are 9 billion people. There are wonderful animals. I love my houseplants. Let's back off a little bit from Tony and Maria, and let's just see if that can expand a little bit.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. And I, one of the things you meant when you mentioned clients there, one of the things I think our upbringings, when there's a sort of fragility in the relationship, say we experience loss, or we experience, or we're brought up in a home where we don't necessarily learn loving kindness or from around us. How do you see people rediscovering the truth of what they are, and then going on to have the sort of relationships that you described?
Well, there are 1,000 paths at minimum. I can be in a home where my parents are scared, fear, money fears, relationship fears, fears about me not turning out right, about me embarrassing them, becoming a serial killer instead of a Rhodes Scholar. That's one thing it's funny how parents associate you've been good, with you didn't embarrass me. So you've been good you were so good in the grocery store today. And it's like you were just so good. It means you didn't. It doesn't mean you were courageous, you were loving, you were open-hearted, you were creative. No, no, no. It means it was like you were on morphine or something. It was wonderful. It's like you weren't even there. It's like I didn't even have a child. It was heaven. You were
Exactly.
you were heavenly. Thank you for not embarrassing me. And so that's how we think, okay, being good is not embarrassing others, or winning their approval. That's what good means. Sometimes the child will have parents who are in their own worlds, like I had. And, you might have a little dog or a cat or a canary or friends. I had friends that just tremendous friendships. And so the inner intuitive desire to love can find all kinds of ways. I don't think there's a prescription for what's the path to finding it if your childhood was difficult.
Mm.
I had two alcoholic parents, which is as many as you can have at any one time. And I remember finding out, when I was addicted to labels, how to label others, how to label myself. Everything was, oh, he's a narcissist, he's a good person, I'm a coward. I remember but I didn't have any victim label. I grew up in a very upper middle class neighborhood, so I couldn't say I was poor or I was racially. I couldn't find my victim label, and I wanted one
Right.
because it seemed everyone had one, and that's how they got positive attention. And then I found out you are an adult child of an alcoholic. And I said, tell me more. And they began to tell me, you're a victim. You have suffered. And there is trauma in you that, oh, yeah, that's probably it. Well, you need to see a psychotherapist, which I did. And anyway, I don't have a good answer for that question. I don't have a recommendation except don't give up on love. And it's everywhere if you can see it. And find a guide. Find someone to help if you're not seeing it. That's why coaching and mentoring and is such a wonderful blessing, because it's something that just feels warmer than you need to see a shrink. There's something wrong with you. Because in the past, when I was walking the planet before there was coaching, it was either a shrink or nothing.
Mm.
And so that's where I went. And fortunately, the people I saw were really great, and they weren't, they really helped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And the when you're saying about love is all around us, and in this book and in other books, you quote people like Byron Katie who talk about the universe being love, or the kindness of the design. Is that how you see it? Is that do you see the whole system as ultimately kind?
Yes, but it took a long time to see that. I mean, it took a lot of, for me, it doesn't take everybody a long time, so don't think it has to take a long time, or 10,000 hours of meditation before you can be awake to what the universe really is. It can happen in a heartbeat. It can happen in a second if you're lucky, but it can also happen incrementally over time. And so for me, it was incremental over time before I could really see it, before I really had the wow factor.
What was it that you saw? What how do you see it as being?
I think the first thing I saw that really opened it up, um, I went through recovery from alcoholism, and they had a spiritual program of recovery that I went through. But it was all the language was really based in old world religion. It was there was a lot of talk about God, and I was a phony. I saw myself as a tortured poet, and my idols were alcoholic writers like Norman Mailer, and Dylan Thomas was my hero. Drank himself to death at the White Horse Inn in New York City. He fell off the bar stool. And to me, that was like, as soon as I got to Manhattan, I wanted to go there. That was my hero. I went through that program, and I saw that when it worked for me, it dissolved the addiction and converted it into, from false spirit to true spirit. I saw it always happened for people who left their ego at the door. And then I began to notice there wasn't a hierarchy. There weren't leaders. They didn't have the Grand Master of 12 Steps who came in with a uniform and told us what to do. It was all, nobody's better than you, and you're not better than anybody. We're all here to help each other. And so egos got left at the door eventually. And I saw, wow, that when I do that, I have a better life. My relationships get better. I'm happier, and I don't have to hang on to this identity. I didn't know what I was seeing, and so I did more of it. I had worked with people, and I wrote a book about it. It was really clumsy. It was called Reinventing Yourself, and it was an awareness that the self that people want to reinvent was invented to begin with.
Mm.
And that was what I saw, and that's what I tried to base that book on. Look, you're an invention anyway. You've made it up. Why not make up who you really want to be when you interact with the world? And that's what started the whole thing going for me. I didn't know that was non-duality, or I didn't, at that time, I didn't even know what that was. I was just kind of finding my way and trying to share with people what made me happy or made me less fearful and all of that.
Yeah. It's the thing that over and over and over again strikes me about you, that I sort of would expect you to not be leaving your ego at the door in a way, because you've done so much and helped so many people, and yet maybe more than anyone I've ever met, you are like an open space of freedom and learning and inquiry, and that just doesn't seem to have changed at any stage. It's out, it's there in your books, it's there when you speak to people, and it's very rare. I mean, it's rare that absence of stand, or absence of separation, or absence of I know mind. And especially in, I guess, in a coaching profession, when, you know, sort of, you would think like people would be, I know better than you, that sort of idea, but it just is not there with you. And what's your secret? How does that happen? It's remarkable.
Well, I've been helped by a lot of people to not live from the false ego,
Yeah.
to understand that you don't have to. And not only do you not have to, but it brings so much misery and pain and heartbreak. And someone will send you some information, and you look at the information, and all of a sudden you tell yourself, I've been rejected. Oh my gosh, I've been rejected. No, it was information that that person is not going to be your client right now. That's all that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so rejection is a concept. And anyway, I don't have an answer to any special secret other than I've been helped. And going through alcoholism, it's not hard to be humble when your addiction is taking you down so low to the depths of I don't even want to live anymore. I remember in one of our meeting rooms, they had a sign that said, "Your best thinking got you here." And they didn't mean you were smart to get here. They meant here meant your life has been destroyed by your addiction, and that's where your best thinking got you there. So time to let go of that
Mm-hmm.
as something you identify with and rely on. And then over time, I met more and more people. Byron Katie, I went to her 9-day school, and that was beautiful. I started to learn 3P. I worked with Dick and Bettinger and Mark Howard, and I met you with George Pransky's practitioner. I remember when you came up to me, I thought she's got to think I'm somebody else. Who does she think I am?
So excited.
She's acting like I'm Elvis.
Oh, Steve. And yeah, I was so excited. I'll never forget that moment. But when you were talking about, in the depths of the alcoholism, like stripped of ego, really stripped of any sense of being being something, I guess. And then
Yeah.
is it, do you think that we need to re, re, almost like recover the ego in order to then see that there is to see beyond the ego. Do you think there's a stage that we have to go through that sort of brings us back as an identity in order to transcend it?
Um, you mean like hitting bottom or going through
Hitting
some?
bottom, but then is there, because the reason I ask is when someone has such a fragile sense of themselves, so is so vulnerable, and the mind is sort of really lost in itself, and then they come into a conversation about how everything about ourselves is thought created, and a belief and conditioned, and there actually isn't any truth to it. That can be destabilizing
Yes.
in a different way. And and I was wondering, do you think there's a step in the middle of orientating around an identity first, or do you?
Well, I think we all, at least in our culture, we're told from the minute we can understand language that this is your name, this is who you are, and my job as a parent is to make you a self-reliant individual, separate from others, and your job is to excel and be extraordinary, be exceptional. The word is exceptional. I'd like you to be an exceptional being. And so okay, so as a child you're taught what else, what's the alternative? I don't say, well, what does Krishnamurti have to say about that? I don't say that to my father at that age. I say, okay, that's the job. I have to be exceptional. And exceptional, I worked with a man who coached me, and he was an expert on the linguistics of suicide. He was a professor. And I asked him what, and he would read suicide notes and he'd help parents who had suicidal children, and he made a big study of it. And I said, what do you see as the source of people having suicidal ideation? And he said one word: exceptionalism. I said, what do you mean? People are trying to be exceptional. They're trying to win praise for being this man is an exceptional writer. He's an exceptional singer. He said that means you are the exception from the interconnected
Right,
world
right.
of. You're standing out. What a standout! Totally separate from the rest of the world. But that people with suicidal ideation, that they somehow see that doesn't work. That it's not going to work for me.
Yeah,
I've tried that, and I can't find fulfillment on that path.
yeah.
And so I think that's the heart of it. We're taught, you are you, I am me, and then we're taught, you're lazy, you're not a kind person, you're not very nice to people, or you're this, you're that. You never finish anything. And that lands as part of my permanent identity.
Mm.
And that just accumulates. So it is hard for people who have built this ego and believe these thoughts 24/7 for decades to then say, oh, I
Yeah.
took a Clare Dimond course, and I found out from her I am universal love. I was so happy to hear that. And from that moment on, my life was wonderful. Uh, but it's beautiful that I know people who are in your courses and find that out. They're startled by what they hear, but they keep coming back and they start to open. The lens opens. Some people, wow, right away, and then some people a little bit at a time. But it is possible to wake up to the ego being just a role to play, not really who I am, and not have a big crisis around it. Matthew Ricard is a great role model for me of someone who simply did that in a benevolent, benign way. He just followed his fascination. And he went he was in a wealthy intellectual family in France. And every once in a while, these Tibetan monks would come into town. And he saw that the intellectuals around his father, who was a famous philosopher, were really unhappy, bitter, skeptical, nasty, self-centered. And the Tibetan monks he met were gloriously happy. And he said, I want to go there, whatever. I want what they are having, like when Harry met Sally. I want what they're eating. And so he went to Tibet and began studying. So his path was what anyone's can be. A lot of people have enlightenment envy, or they envy crisis. They see that Byron Katie was suicidal and slept and addicted to all kinds of drugs and to food, slept with a gun under her pillow, was very suicidal for years, and said, I would have killed myself if I didn't have my children. They were the only reason I didn't. They think, oh gosh, lucky her. She had that crisis, and then she woke up one morning and saw the real picture, saw reality.
Mm.
That doesn't have to happen, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Oh, and a last question, going back to your words. When you said, what if when the truth, in brackets beauty, is glimpsed, those thoughts fall away? What's the how do you see truth and beauty as
Well, it's hard to assert that the real truth is beautiful without lots and lots of context for that. I do see that, and it took a long time to see that because I had to let go of all the labels. That's wrong, that's this. And when they dropped away and I saw things for what they were, like 3P was really good for that. I had a hard time understanding 3P. I loved George Pransky. I used to listen to his audios all the time, but he never mentioned 3P in there. He just gave advice about levels of mood, and when someone's in a low mood in a company you want to and all that. And then I was in one of the teachers in Michael Neal's Super Coach Academy, and when he got full on 3P, I was kicked out of that school for only knowing two of the three principles. And I still never got it, but then I worked with Dickin and Mark Howard and Amy Johnson, who's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to see for myself that Sydney Banks was just like Byron Katie, who's just like various religious figures and other average people who just woke up.
Yeah. Yeah. And beauty? Where does that come into that?
Truth and beauty. Was that John Keats, the poet?
Oh,
You would
maybe.
know. You
Okay.
would know more about that. Truth is beauty. Beauty is truth. That's all
Oh,
you need.
oh, good. I'll look for that.
That's all you need to know. It's all you need to know.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
It means I don't need to be afraid of the truth. It's beautiful.
That's lovely.
Truth is what it means is that truth is beauty. So we're on a maddening feedback loop here of concepts coming from you and then me returning them to you. Truth is beauty. Beauty is truth. That's all you need to know. That's what it means. It means what that poet said, because he obviously, you read, was John Keats. You should know. It's from
I
your
should,
land.
yeah,
What?
yeah, from my land. I'll have a look. I'll have a
He's
look.
one of your guys.
Oh, I'll have a look. Thank you, Steve. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before
No, thank you for all the work you do in the world. It's great. It's beautiful,
oh,
and it's true.
and it's beautiful.
Yes, it's beautiful because it's true.
Yeah.
You know, it. The old meaning of getting real was, come on, get real. I mean, you got to get. It was very negative. Reality is a tough pill to swallow, but you got to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Your real mean is reality is beautiful. The truth. So you don't need to be asking me this question. I refer you to your book.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad I got the chance to speak with you and ask you those questions. And yeah, so honored, Stephen. Thank you from on behalf of all the people who read your books. There won't be a single person listening to this who hasn't read at least one, and we're so grateful. Thank you.
You don't have many people following you.
I actually do. 180,000 downloads, so that's a lot. That's a lot of readers. So yeah, yeah. So grateful. Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome.
So much love. Bye.
Bye.